Welcome to episode 16, this emergency broadcast of the Wiley Wire. We're going to dive deep into this Iran conflict. The United States and Israel worked together at 9:30 a.m. in the morning on Saturday to take out the entire leadership of Iran. The Ayatollah is dead, along with 48 other leaders that were meeting together in one spot, and the United States took them all out at once. It was an unprecedented military move that the world has never seen. It looks like the people of Iran are very optimistic of getting a new leader. The people that fled Iran, 1979, that live across the country, are all cheering in the streets. It's, signs and visual signs you can see online that you thought you'd never see before. Israeli flags, United States flags, all waving together in the streets of LA, Chicago, New York, Austin, all across the country. It was just amazing. And we're also going to cover sleeper cells that could be in the United States. There was a terrible occurrence that happened at Austin nightclub Saturday night where 4 people were killed and 16 to 17 others were wounded. We're going to cover that. And we're also going to go over the timetable of this war. The mainstream media kind of jumped into 48 hours to endless war to months to weeks. We're going to break down the timeline from our sources. And it looks like it is regime change, but at the same time, you're hearing that they don't have a plan. They have a plan, no doubt. They wouldn't do something like this without a plan. And the timetable, from what I'm told, will not be endless. And it won't be 48 hours, which 48 hours already passed. But we'll break down the timetable. Welcome to this emergency broadcast of the Wiley Wire. So let's go over the timetable of the strike. The Iranian leadership was all meeting in one place with knowledge that the U.S. always strikes at night. And they have an emergency meeting. The entire leadership is there. And the U.S. decided this is the time. And Israeli and the United States military worked together using our CIA to strike Iran, killing 49 leaders. As of right now, they have no idea in Iran who is their next leader. It's just chaos. 90% of the people in Iran want regime change, but there is still a 10% of the population, which is about 7 million people, that are mourning the loss of their leader of Iran. Overwhelming majority, though, 90% of the country is ecstatic about this, and they're ready to move on. So let's go over the timetable. Now, mainstream media said 48 hours. It's absurd. You got to remember, Iran's the size of, take California, the state of California, times it by 4. 90 million people are there. And you can't do something like this in 48 hours. This is out of President Trump's mouth that they thought that this would take 4 weeks to kill all the leaders. And when they had the chance to kill all of them at once, they couldn't believe that all of them were there at once and they were able to take all of them out so fast. According to President Trump, way ahead of schedule. And this is from a early morning interview with Fox News' Bret Baier. I'm going to roll that. It's not an interview. It's actually Bret Baier taking his notes from what he said the president told him over the phone. But they're saying this is going to be at least 4 weeks, but they are ahead of schedule right now. So roll the quick clip of Bret Baier from Fox News quoting President Trump from his phone call.
I want to read some of these quotes that I asked him and how he answered. He said that as far as a plan, they do have a plan, always had a plan. The intelligence, the level of intelligence that they've had up until this point is truly amazing. I asked, so what you're saying is that there is somebody on the ground in Iran that is going to rise up. quote, yeah, I feel there is. I feel that, and some of them are no longer with us, to be honest, because it was 49 leaders that were taken out. That was going to take 4 weeks, we thought, to get rid of the Iranian leadership. And it's always, you know, if they hide, it's a lot longer than 4 weeks. And they would have been hiding. We were shocked when we heard what was going on. We knew exactly what was happening and where. 49 leaders. And, you know, they're talking about using people now that nobody ever heard of, even though they don't know. They're using people, studying people to be the leader that even they don't know who they are. Can you believe that? I said, it's a tough succession plan in Iran. He said 49 leaders is deep. It's very deep. When they met for breakfast. They assumed it was good for a lot of reasons. Number one, they didn't think we knew, but you never attack in the morning, having to do with winds and sun and a lot of things. It was amazing that we knew everything we knew. He said there is a plan. He points to Venezuela as a template, which means to me that going in, they had some sense on the ground of what was coming next. As far as the military operation, he said there is no greater military in the U.S., and he was praising General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, for the news conference that he just watched. Cut and dry, as he said, central casting, and they have a job to do, and they're getting it done. Wow. So from the President of the United States, he is pleased, does believe that this is going faster than they thought, and he believes that 4 weeks is something that they had put as a kind of calendar of what they were looking at as setting the table for the Iranians to do what they do.
Good stuff there.
So what's next for Iran? That's the question that everybody's asking right now. They have somebody here in the United States that is willing to go into Iran and be a transitional leader. He obviously fled in 1979 when the Ayatollah took over and just basically ruined the country of Iran. That's why so many people in the late 70s, early 80s fled Iran. I remember being in school and seeing, I had a few kids in my class that came from Iran. Their parents fled to America. So I remember part of it and how it went down when I was younger, but seeing this now is it's a monumental moment. I mean, we're seeing people cheering in the streets across the world, European cities, United States cities. You have, people of Iran are cheering because 90% of the population, again, is for a regime change and getting the old Iran back. But their, grandparents now are talking about, their parents now are talking about how it used to be. And women's rights in Iran is just, if you had a scale of a 0 to 10, women's rights, 10 being good, they're at a -1 on women's rights. So I can't really see how these people are out in the streets with signs against this. There's a clip, I'll try to play it later in the show, but there were paid protesters out and they had all these signs being handed to them. So this is, again, another NGO group that bought and purchased these signs in case this would happen. It was ready, because how would they have known? How did they make those signs so fast? I mean, nobody knew about this happening. We had, ideas that it may happen soon. It might happen. But to have all those signs already made, professional signs, and somebody handing them to each person, paid protesters, I think that should be illegal, to be honest with you. If you're being paid to protest, I think that's more, to me, is more of like, it could be treason depending on what they're doing. So let's just say somebody's a paid protester, but they're protesting something peaceful. that doesn't harm the country, I mean, you can argue against that. But if it's something that harms the country and creates violence and they're paid, I think that is where you go down a dark path of, I wouldn't call it treason, but it's, you're playing around with treason, in my opinion. Crazy video I saw on X. Also, when we talk about how happy people are about this, I saw some amazing video of Iranians holding an Israeli flag, a United States flag, and a Iranian flag, I should say, dancing in the streets. I've seen so many people online that were just ecstatic about what happened. So we have a long road to go. Let's pray for the 3 service members that died. I know today 2 were shot down by friendly fire over Kuwait. They survived. They parachuted out of their planes, and they are being taken care of by the Kuwaitis right now. There's a video of one of the pilots in the back of a truck kind of laying upright, and it looks like they're ready to take him to the hospital. But I've gotten news that they are in critical condition and they are okay. I've never met anybody in America that claims to be a Nazi, supports Hitler, or anything like that. I've never even met anybody. Not saying they don't exist, but the way people talk about it and throw Nazi around, they act like it's like something you see every day when you go get a coffee, or you're seeing swastikas in a traffic jam. It's preposterous, but I call them thumb Nazis. But they are criticizing Trump because he's at Mar-a-Lago and he popped into a party that was at a ballroom of his that was going on. And they're like, how could he be at a party before we go into something like this and strike Iran? Listen, everything that he does has a reason. There's a purpose behind it. The Ayatollah and the Iranian leadership had no idea the United States was coming. He knew he was going to strike Iran when he did his State of the Union address, and you saw no signs that something was off, something was going to happen. He played around like a fiddle. And then having the footage of him at that party the night before, think about that. If you're Iranian officials, Iranian leadership, and you see him at Mar-a-Lago at a party, the last thing you're going to think of is the next morning, your country's going to get struck. So I don't know why it's a big deal anyways. When you are actually doing something like this, you have to be at a residence or somewhere where it's labeled your place of running the United States. That's why Marco Rubio was at Mar-a-Lago for the whole day on Sunday and Saturday as well. So now that I think they're all back at the White House, but people just got to focus on the things that really matter. The servicemen that died, heroes. 3 service members died in the strikes, and President Trump and a lot of officials said that there are going to be casualties. That's the unfortunate part of war. We can get into, should we have went in? Should we not have gone in? There's people saying that this is going to create more destruction in the Middle East, more fighting in the Middle East. Most of the officials in the Trump administration say this is not going to be in Afghanistan or Iraq. Pete Hegseth said, he fought in both of those wars, and this is nothing like that. This is going to be something that we fix quickly, get out of there, and give the Iranian people a chance at freedom and electing their own official president and leaders after this transition period occurs. But they can't start the transition period until it's completely finished. The mission's done. You can't just knock the hornet's nest and not remove the hornet's nest. So as of now, let's call it a hornet's nest. The hornet's nest has been most likely destroyed, but there are still a few hornets being leaders of Iran, that are floating around the country. It's a huge country. It's 90 million people. So it's not an easy job. And there's probably a lot of military in Iran that are loyal to their leader. That's another faction that we have to talk about, because we don't know who is on the people of Iran's side, the 90% of the population. It's going to be very hard for them to be unarmed and take over the government. But according to the Trump administration, Pete Hegseth, they have a plan, and they feel their plan will work. So in our next segment, we're going to talk about the oil prices. Everybody is talking about that because the stock market is at its all-time high. And right now, with oil, Iran has struck a location in Qatar and also a location in Saudi Arabia. I think it was this morning. That is going to play a big role in oil and oil prices. So we'll be back with that in our next segment.
It's interesting to me, the predictions, the market today, that oil could go to $100 a barrel. It has not. It has gone up, but only a couple of bucks, okay? And all this stuff about Iran stopping the Straits of Hormuz, it turns out they don't want to, so they say, but they don't have the Navy to do it. Most of the rise in oil is about insurance rates going up in the short run. Second point I'll make is our stock market, which opened down the 500-600 points in the overnight trading and right at the beginning. The last quote I saw, I can't see the screen, but actually is up. It looks we're in the green.
Yeah,
right
we
now.
were watching.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that there's, investors are showing a lot of confidence in the outcome of this, brilliant, epic operation that President Trump is running with Israel. A lot of confidence. You get bumps. You're going to get bumps in the short run, but in the long run, this is so absolutely bullish and optimistic for the Middle East and the whole world economy that stock markets are going to go up a lot once this thing has run its course.
We're back with our next segment, and we're going to talk about sleeper cells in America. The mainstream media has kind of touched base on it a little bit here and there. I'm not saying this to scare people, but I've read from Homeland Security, FBI sources, that this is a major factor, and we have to keep our head in a swivel, especially in major gatherings, big cities, sanctuary cities especially. From 2021 to 2024, before Trump took over, the border was wide open. And we don't know how many people came into this country that are here strictly to do harm. Factions of terrorist organizations. I'm sure Iran, I would be surprised if they didn't send terror cells here, because everybody knew that the border was wide open. Let's get into what could possibly happen, the ramifications of that could be. So, in Austin, Saturday night, a man with an olive shirt from Senegal, which is a region of Africa, came into a nightclub armed, killed 3 people, shot 14 others, maybe more. He had an olive shirt. He had an Iran undershirt underneath. And he was obviously upset about the killing of Iran's leader, the Ayatollah. I doubt he's the only one. I'm hoping this is a lone wolf type situation where, he wasn't a cell. He was just somebody radicalized. Because sleeper cells if those come out, they're going to come out, at the same time. There's going to be more than one occurrence happening. They're not just going to do one at a time. They're going to have multiple ones going on to create chaos. So if you're in a large group setting, game or sanctuary city, big city, any city, keep your head in a swivel, especially what's going on right now. So Man in Austin, again, killed 3 people at a nightclub, had an Allah shirt on. He was from Senegal. He became a citizen just recently. And it's such a terrible, unfortunate occurrence. Hope this isn't a thing that's going to continue to happen, but we have to look out for it because it's definitely a possibility. And when the FBI is saying it is, and Homeland Security, I'm sure they wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. And if, you have any sense to you, the borders being wide open wasn't just for people to come in seeking a better life. There is people coming in with instructions to do harm to the U.S. I hope they got most of them out, but you never know. There could be a lot more here. In my next segment, I'm going to talk about how long this war is going to take. The news have said a lot of different scenarios, and I kind of laid off of social media a little bit when it happened because so many crazy things are said in the beginning without much thought. When we come back, we're going to do our WTF segment. It's the Dave Portnoy, Eric Swalwell, X feud. You can't make this stuff up. We'll be back with the WTF segment.
The Wiley Wire segment, where Brandon asks, "What the fuck is this?"
We're back, and I'm going to cover a little trending news. It's such a serious time, but I couldn't look past this. Dave Portnoy put out a lengthy X post, his take on what's going on. And everybody has a right to their take on it. I do. Dave Portnoy does. Anybody does. Whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. So Dave Portnoy put out a X post talking about his view on the strikes on Iran. And obviously he's for it. He talks about what the Iranian regime has done since 1979 to its people. Obviously, the killing of protesters, which I've talked about in previous episodes, we don't know the number, but it's at least, and they're saying at least 20,000 they killed of their own people just recently. So, but this politician, I can't stand this guy, Eric Swalwell, comments on Dave Portnoy's post, he should stick to sports, like you're some type of genius. This is the guy, Eric Swalwell, and Dave Portnoy appears didn't even know this, but I knew this. If you ever hear Swalwell, you hear about Fang Fang. So Fang Fang's the Chinese spy that he was in a relationship with, and basically she infiltrated him and got as much as she could out of him without him knowing. He's a toy for whoever's putting money behind him. There are unconfirmed reports of him running for governor of California on an illegal address that he gave his lawyer's address as his illegal residence for California to run for governor, even though he's not a resident of California. It's unbelievable. People are obviously paying for this guy to continue to be in government because he answers to somebody other than the people he's representing. Because I don't know how somebody can get voted to be a senator or a congressman when you get caught with a spy from China. Talk about a tough re-election campaign, but he gets elected. So that's how you have to understand that maybe these elections aren't real, or maybe you can buy an election. But to me, it makes no sense that this guy's in government, period. And if you are in government and you're interested in the matters of a citizen who just speaks his mind on an event, even though Dave Portnoy is just a citizen, but he's obviously a celebrity, but what does that have to do with you? How does that affect you? You have your right to criticize somebody's statement, but being a government official, I think you should stick to important things in the government, like maybe opening the government up. Because right now, the Democrats have the entire TSA and government shutdown where people aren't going to get paychecks again in such a crucial time, I should say, in the world, people aren't even getting a paycheck right now. Comment on Dave Portnoy's post, and I have nothing wrong with Dave Portnoy's post. I think it's pretty right on, in my opinion. So Eric Swalwell is a loser. They got to get that guy out of government. They got to get Rashid Tlaib out of government, Ilhan Omar out of government. There's reports that the DOJ is going after how she got her $50 million. She funneled it through her husband's winery in somewhere in California, I guess, that doesn't exist. It's all fraud. And that's why she's so fired up. That's why she's yelling at Trump in the State of the Union, because she just knows she's caught and they're coming after her. And they should. I mean, I said this in previous episodes, but how hard it is to make $30 million, $1 million, $5 million, whatever, is one of the most difficult things to do. And for somebody to accumulate that type of money that quick is impossible. The only way to do it is if you win the lottery or you play quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings and you're really, really good. They give you like a $30 million signing bonus or something like that. But for a citizen or doesn't play sports, hasn't created anything that's, an invention or patent or whatever, you have nothing to show for, and have that type of money is impossible. It's impossible. I'm going to read Dave Portnoy's post out loud. I have it up on the screen. It's kind of hard to read, especially if you're watching on video or you're listening in the car. Here's what he wrote. I always laugh at yo-yos who don't have the first clue what information the president had that forced this decision. Even politicians who despise him but were briefed on the situation seem to agree with his operation. I guess a lot of podcasters know better. And he has a smiley emoji. Gotta keep the lights on somehow. Borderline traitors, if you ask me. Iran is a terror nation with a long history of some of the worst human rights atrocities in the world. Nobody disputes that fact. They hate Americans. They hate Israel. They hate all Jews. They hate the West. They could kill us all, given the chance. They just murdered tens of thousands of their own people. The rest of the Middle East is on our side. The Iranian people are on our side. It isn't that complicated to support our troops in our country this morning. We are on the right side here. God bless America. So that was Dave Portnoy's post. I'm going to read Eric Swalwell that commented in. Representative Eric Swalwell. Here's what he wrote. Stick to sports. You're at least half right there. Your whiny ass ain't going to go to Iran battlefield anytime soon. It'll be poor kids from where I grew up. Life must be pretty comfy in your suite. Stick to judging your favorite pizzas. The adults will sort out the wars. Like I said, Dave Portnoy had no idea who Eric Swalwell was, and when he figured it out, he posted this. Call me crazy. I like my politicians not getting tricked by foreign spies. It totally set Dave Portnoy up for a slam dunk. Eric Swalwell is an idiot. Why would he attack Dave Portnoy? Anyways, he's not the guy you want to attack. He's one of the, he'll ambush you with rhetoric and posts back at you. You just open up a can of worms you're not going to be able to close back. And I know you've been trying to run from this Fang thing for years. It won't go away. And now you just open it up again, and it's going to get viral and viral and viral. And Dave Portnoy, I don't know him. I like a lot of things he says. He actually, when he did the unboxing thing back in 2020, some guys from my office sent him one of our boxes. He opened it up. It was pretty hilarious. It gave a nice rise to a lot of the guys in the office. And at that time, a lot of people were down with the COVID just breaking out. So I thought what Dave Portnoy wrote was great. I agree with it. Eric Swalwell is an idiot. and we need to get him out of office fast. Someone's got to run against this guy. We definitely can't let him illegally run in California. From what I hear is, again, his address is not located in California. It's his lawyer's address, I guess, from what I've read, and that you have to live in California for 2 years to run. Maybe that information's wrong. This is what I've seen on X. I had somebody send me a video of a person on a talk show talking about this, and he was actually kicked out of one of Eric Swalwell's events because he was the one that was fighting this in California. So that's a little take on some of the news on Eric Swalwell, but again, just dumb. That's a wrap for episode 16, this emergency episode of the Wiley Wire. Hopefully this mission succeeds. After hearing Trump talk just moments ago, it looked like they are extremely confident in it succeeding. He just gave out 3 medals of honor at the White House just moments ago, and they said they're way ahead of schedule, and the mission as of now is succeeding. So we'll continue to follow this. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying wired.
The Wiley Wire dives into sports, music, politics, health, and trending topics for entertainment, info, and education. Listener discretion advised. May include mature themes, explicit language, controversial views, or sensitive content. Not suitable for under 18 or all audiences. Parents, please supervise. All opinions from hosts, guests, and contributors are personal and don't reflect our official views. Information isn't guaranteed to be accurate. Do your own research and consult qualified professionals.